Hey guys, hey, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles' video, so I'm going to make a man video. I'm going to talk about toxic masculinity because that's what apparently the rap is talking about. They said that young men need role models. They need male role models in Hollywood. Didn't they spend the last 10 years getting rid of male role models in Hollywood, or making them effeminate, or having them give their mantles to the vastly superior but undeserving female? Didn't we just spend the last 10 years telling men that they were awful? Maybe more than 10 years telling young men they're awful. I mean, it's so bad. I'm going to be honest. And this is my son's own observation when he was in the second grade. In the second grade. He came home and told me that he felt that some of his teachers were favoring the female students. They were spending more time with them when it came to math, which is probably the whole STEM push. And he said, you know, it's weird, like we're all kind of getting shafted and the girls are getting all this attention. And I don't understand what's going on. And he noticed it. He noticed it himself, this kind of anti-male sentiment. But now Hollywood wants male role models because guess what? A lot of men walked away from Hollywood. This is partially why I think male-dominated or franchises like Marvel and Star Wars and so many others have collapsed because they chased the men out of their spaces. This is my opinion. As a man, I watched it happen. I've seen it happen. And I'm not saying that there isn't room for women in certain fandoms, but again, what we've seen is an active push to push men out of their space. You know, historically, their spaces. I mean, we talked about Star Wars earlier. We talked about Kathleen Kennedy leaving, reportedly, a rumor that she's leaving. And Geeky brought up an article we did, or we covered, last year, I think it's been a year, where they flat out said that, yeah, like 75, 80% of Star Wars fans are men. They're men. It doesn't matter how much you try to change the demographic. That's what it is. Now we've turned, Doctor Who into a woman, and that's a whole nother thing. We've made a lot of these characters effeminate and kinder and gentler and less toxic. And now Hollywood wants male role models again. But we're going to read this article because it's interesting. It's like they're talking out both sides of their mouth. Hollywood wants male role models after they've chased men off, but they don't want them to be toxic males. They don't want toxic masculinity. They want neutered, safe masculinity. They don't want Andrew Tate's or whatever taking over Hollywood. But they won't let Hollywood produce movies with traditionally masculine men, or if they do, they get called out by media outlets like, oh my God, toxic masculinity on full display, misogyny and on full display, heteronormativity. What the hell they call it? Basically, just being straight, like the vast majority of people are, is heteronormativity, supercalifragilistic fucking ridiculous stuff. We're going to talk about this ridiculousness. This feels like they just realized, oh my God, we cut our nose off to spite our faces, or we cut our dicks off to spite the patriarchy. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Flying solo in this video. Geeky did a couple. She did have a pain shot for her dental work, and it kicked in. She was able to do a couple videos. And I'm flying solo in this one. Guys, if you are looking for notifications, if you're not getting them from YouTube, if you're not getting it at home, go to clownfishtv.substack.com. I'm going to post links to our new videos out there. You can watch our videos on Substack, or it'll actually take you over to YouTube. You'll get an email notification, basically. YouTube is not good at that anymore. They haven't been good at that for a while. So this is coming from the Wrap. Study: Hollywood's male role models are failing young men. Where does that go in the Trump era? Oh my God, it's already started. A 2024 report finds that young males 13 to 30 crave vulnerable male characters. Bullshit. Vulnerable male characters. No, they crave masculine male characters. They crave male characters who are traditionally masculine because they've been removed from most media, right? They have. Experts wonder if a cultural shift could lead Hollywood in another direction. They're worried that Trumpism is going to cause Hollywood to bring back toxic masculinity. Last year, entertainment industry tracker NRG, the National Research Group, are they still funded? Or are they privately? Are they on the dole? Or are they on the USAID dole? Did they get doged? They released a study concluding that 43% of young men aged 13 to 30 don't know what it means to be a man in today's society. And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Like Ken in the Barbie movie, men are struggling to figure out their own place, the study says, referring to the hit movie's multicultural troupe of just Kens who are baffled by the increasing power of women. Yes, women and effeminate men have pushed masculine men out of traditionally manly spaces, and they've made sure that we don't have any role models. And I talked about this with Doctor Who. It was Peter Davison, who's actually the father-in-law of David Tennant. So we have the 5th Doctor and the 10th Doctor and the 14th Doctor, I guess, whatever. He actually said that he was worried when they made Doctor Who a woman because that took a positive male role model away from young men, from boys. And we've seen this happen time and time again. We always get rid of the male character and let the female take up the mantle or become the replacement, or the female character is brought in to chastise the male character. The report suggests Hollywood may be remiss in not filling that void. A sizable number, 47% of those surveyed, are looking to fictional characters, public figures, and celebrities for masculine role models over real people in their lives, signaling how important it is that Hollywood and celebrities present a multifaceted view of what it means to be a man. Again, congratulations, Hollywood. Congratulations, media. You have demonized masculine men for so long that they are practically non-existent. For Hollywood, the report sounds both like a call to action and a potential opportunity as the industry strategizes about how to reach an audience that has become increasingly elusive, which has traditionally constituted a major target and driver of its content. Yes, why have so many male-focused franchises cratered? Because you took the men out of those franchises, or you turned them into complete pussies. See also Luke Skywalker. The study does not directly touch on American politics. It may also strike a nerve with an entertainment industry already seeing a wave of layoffs and revamps in studio diversity, equity, and inclusion staffs spurred by Trump. So she's afraid, this female author, Diane, is afraid that Hollywood is going to go back to basically what worked and have traditionally masculine men in its movies and TV shows again. Is that the problem? Is that the problem? We can't have that because we worked so damn hard to get rid of them, decades to get rid of them. And now all it takes is Trump back in office to play the Uno reverse card. Even as such studies recognize an appetite for more sensitive men, Trump's reelection sends a conflicting message, raising questions about how Hollywood might respond given the ideals advanced by Trump. Fergus Navaratham Blair. That cannot be a real name. That cannot be. That sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons character. Fergus Navaratham Blair, NRG's research director for trends and futures based in the UK, said the study was motivated in part by the fact that NRG's entertainment industry clients are brainstorming ways for TV and movies to compete for young male attention against social media and video games. Well, they've tried to take men out of video games too, and now the AAA gaming industry is collapsing. Isn't it? Isn't it? People like Diane did this. You got rid of men. You took men out of the equation. You said it was bad to be a man. And the whole thing collapsed. Imagine that, right? Because, they're even Marvel. Like, I'm looking at Marvel, and they're trying to turn Marvel into a more female-focused brand. And look, there's a place, for the WandaVisions and the Agathas and the whatever. But traditionally, Marvel has been a male brand. James Bond, you neutered him. And God only knows what Amazon's going to do with them. Maybe they will get it through their heads. They'll look at this study and be like, oh, shit. Men want men in movies. Boys want to watch men in movies to learn how to be men. Maybe we should make movies with men. Women like manly men in movies because they want to get all hot and bothered for them. And look at the drop-off in Marvel, too. Again, not to just beat that drum, but you look at the drop-off in Marvel, and it happened about this time that they started neutering their male characters. Because women were like, yeah, I don't want this pussy. I'm not, well, some women do. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, I don't want this guy. He's not manly. He's a puss. I don't want smart Hulk. Right? I don't want sad, fat Thor. I want the guy I've been getting hot and bothered for all these years, Bucky or something. You know what I'm saying? A crisis of masculinity. The other aspect was this kind of broader conversation we're having about this idea of a crisis of masculinity, said the person with the unpronounceable name. There's been a sort of emerging bipartisan consensus realizing this is something we need to deal with. You did it. The left did it. The left destroyed masculinity. And they used the media to help do it. They kept using the media to, I believe, program boys into thinking there's something wrong with them if they had natural tendencies that boys have. Right? I mean, look, again, back to my son in school. His grade school years could not be any more different from my own. Okay, and I've talked about it before. I've gotten in a lot of fights. I got in a lot of fights when I was a kid. I actually wound up in alternative ed for a year because I was such a bad boy. And I told the superintendent of the school to go F himself. I was always in fights. My home life was, everybody's got problems, right? My home life wasn't the greatest at the time. There's a lot of things going on. And, I took it out and I got in a lot of fights. I still got to this day, I got a deviated septum from getting punched in the nose. I don't remember which fight that was, but but that's how we dealt with things back then, right? That's how we dealt with things. You have a beef with somebody, you get in a fight. And you're not allowed to do that now. You're not even allowed to show any aggression. You're not allowed to raise your voice or it's a microaggression. Again, back to my son, he got punished. He got into it with another kid on the school bus and he was being picked on. My son was being picked on and they punished him too. Back when I was a kid, we would have got off the bus. We would have waited for the bus to leave. And then we would have beat the shit out of each other. And, not to get too political with this, but, back then when we had ways of working out our aggression and our, angst and all, we didn't shoot each other either, right? Like that didn't happen till later. And there's a lot of that now. And I think a lot of it is just a crisis in mental illness and, a lot of, at least on the male side of it, a lot of people not being allowed to work out their aggression in better ways. That's just an opinion I have, right? I can't prove that with any data or whatever, but all I know is like when I was a kid, 80s and 90s, we all had access to weapons. In fact, they taught us how to shoot at school. I'm going to be honest. They did. That was actually a class you could take to learn how to safely fire a rifle. And I took that class and I had bow hunting and I had some other classes I took. And, but they taught you how to do that at school and we weren't doing this. We weren't hurting each other the way that kids are hurting each other now. Right. So yeah, there's definitely something going on. And you never felt back then that you were inferior because you're a boy. I don't think girls felt like they were inferior either. In the 80s, 90s, I don't think so. Kids seemed a lot happier. I've seen videos of high schools in the 90s and 2000s, and everybody seems a lot happier. And they're not on their cell phones because we didn't have them yet. You might have had a flip phone maybe if you're rich, but we all seemed a lot happier. We all talked to each other, more. We had to. It's just everything has changed. But this has all been, I believe, and I'm not trying to go like all Andrew Tate here because like that's a whole nother issue. But like there has absolutely been an assault on traditional masculinity for decades, and it culminated with Hollywood and the media and working together with these idiots, these organizations, to spout off that just being a man was problematic. Being a man and having male urges and having higher testosterone and dealing with things like a man, those were bad things, right? We needed to make everybody effeminate. Men had to become effeminate. In some cases, they really became effeminate, and women were superior, and men needed to know their place. And look where we're at. We have a whole generation or two of boys that don't know what it means to be a man after, we're talking thousands and thousands of years that men and women kind of had roles. And we can argue, if some of that was a social thing or some of it was a biological thing, whatever. But men were allowed to be men, right? We were allowed to be men. And now we're not. And we see this reflected in the movies. And so now we have a whole generation of kids that are just confused and lost because they don't know who they are. And, I have to wonder if some of the insanity that's going on right now is because we have a whole generation or two of boys that are confused and lost, and they don't know who they are, and they think they're the problem. They think they're a problem because they have testicles, that they're just inherently awful because of you want to talk about being born this way. Don't really have a choice, right? That's a whole nother argument we can talk about later. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're born a boy and you don't feel like you belong, I think there's a lot of things that can go south. I'm just putting it out there. Yalda T. Eunice. God, where are these names coming from? Yalda T. Eunice, founder and CEO of the Center for Scholarship and Storytellers at UCLA, who's quoted in the report, said there is definitely a risk for the political zeitgeist to move the needle toward the masculine stereotype, even in liberal Hollywood, which is all the more reason to flag it. The study goes on to state that young men overwhelmingly cite superhero, fantasy, and cartoon characters rather than real-world characters as role models, suggesting a growing need for more grounded and emotionally vulnerable male characters. Translation, because she's from, or he, she, I don't know, Yalda, what the hell, from UCLA. Translation, we don't want these boys to become toxic males because they're going to look at media and be like, that's what it means to be a man. No. We need vulnerable, touchy-feely male characters. We need Steven Universe, not James Bond. Oh my God. The report does provide statistics suggesting young men are connecting with at least some human real-world role models. I should hope so. Per the study, Gen Z and millennials born 81 to 97's top choices for male role models are basketball star LeBron James and Mr. Beast. Here's a weird theory. Are YouTubers, are streamers, male streamers, are they popular? Are they as popular as they are in part because we have so many kids out there that are desperate for a father figure or a big brother figure, and they're not getting it at home. They're not getting it anywhere else, so they're watching these guys on YouTube and on Twitch. It's just a theory I have, right? And I'm thinking about it, and I thought about this before. I'm like, man, there are a lot of, like, you look at Mr. Beast in particular, and he's got a lot of young boys that love his stuff, and that's, don't make jokes. But are they looking at him like, this is the older brother I don't have? This is the dad I don't have, because do we do big brothers, big sisters anymore? Do we do that? I mean, the Boy Scouts of America is just the scouts, and girls can be scouts too. And there's not that there's anything wrong with that, but boys don't have their own space, right? Girl Scouts just for girls, Boy Scouts, girls and boys. And, again, boys just, they don't have their own spaces anymore. They're pushed out of gaming. They're pushed out of comics. They're pushed out of, all the stuff that's been traditionally kind of masculine entertainment. And I'm not saying that there's, again, not room for women in those spaces. I'm married to a woman who loves that kind of stuff too, but she'll be the first one to tell you, I realize that this nerd stuff that we're into is predominantly a male hobby, and it always has been predominantly a male hobby. And you need to realize that going into it. And I think most old school female geeks did realize that. I mean, God, the first comic convention we went to together, she was kind of getting leered at, and people were getting a little touchy feely with her. She was very hot back then. She was. And because she was one of the only women at the convention. It was just a bunch of, guys in black t-shirts and neck beards, the whole stereotype, right? Because we're talking comic book conventions 20 plus years ago, before we had all these cosplayers move into the scene. And that changed everything too. But yeah, so she gets it. She gets it. But this is weird. Yeah, I said the study addresses the need for more vulnerable men on screen. Also sets a number of popular male characters. Several of them flawed or considered anti-heroes. So we have Don Draper, Walter White, Tony Soprano, Jimmy McNulty, and Donnie Dunn in Baby Reindeer. I have not seen Baby Reindeer. Too much, not enough. Whether you agree on the right amount of vulnerability in Hollywood's on-screen recipe, it would be hard to refute that male characters have been showing their soft side for years. Noodle Boys? What the hell is this? As for the current crop of movie stars, they also reflect shifting perceptions of masculinity. Timothée Chalamet. No, he is not the first guy that comes to mind when you're talking masculine characters. Will the entertainment industry change its stripes or seek to adapt to the unsettled political environment in the next 4 years? As one high-profile example, the search continues for a new James Bond. However, the game has changed on the direction Bond might take, and he'll be tasked with making those decisions with the news that Amazon has gained creative control. The jury remains out as to the extent of which 007 might evolve and whether the next Bond will maintain Craig's sensitive, brooding persona. No, go back to basics. I agree with other people that said that Bond should be a period piece and just go back to 60s Bond. I think that'd be awesome. Leah Aldridge, a professor at Chapman University's Dodge College of Film and Media Arts. It's all women. It's all women weighing in on this. Now, how come if men weigh in on women's issues, that's taboo, but women can weigh in on men's issues? Where are the men? Where are the men, except for Fergus? She suggested audiences, including young men, may actually react to a strong man zeitgeist by seeking out more sensitive male role models. No, this is what they want. No. Men want to know what it means to be a man. This is a very basic desire that 99.9% of men have. And it's a very strong, like, men look for male role models. They want to know what it's like to be a man. They want to know how men are supposed to act. And, I have an estranged relationship with my father, right? I'll just put it out there. We do not get along at all. In fact, the word hatred would come up, I think, in the conversation, right? But I'm just going to say I don't have a good relationship with him. I had a fantastic relationship with my grandfather. And my grandfather was from another generation. But, even when I was a kid, it was, I was always looking to my grandfather and my uncles and other older men for, like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to behave in this situation? What's right, what isn't right? And if that's not being addressed, right? If that's not being addressed, whether it's, the kid doesn't have a strong male role model or whatever, they're going to seek out those role models. And it might come from YouTube, it might come from someplace else, but this is a very basic desire. And I think it's hardwired into us. I think it's just like, I mean, I hate to, distill it down to this, but like animals learn from other animals, what it's like to be a pack leader or whatever it is. And, we've got dogs, we got a couple of male dogs, and the younger male dog learned from the older male dog how to be a male dog. And that's kind of like it is with men. And when men are not allowed to learn because we've taken all those role models away, then you have an identity crisis. And I think a lot of the mental issues that we're seeing now, a lot of the violence that we're seeing now, a lot of the gender confusion I think we're seeing now, I think it comes from a lack of men being, not being allowed to be men and taking all those role models away. I mean, geez, I picked up a lot of stuff from movies when I was a kid. The era of the introspective superhero. Nobody wants an introspective superhero. Here's another. Jackson Katz, an educator and activist on issues of gender, race, and violence, voiced a similar concern and cited the power of female audiences in determining what kind of men will dominate Hollywood. I would say Hollywood has changed. One of the key tectonic forces is feminism, women's ascension as consumers, also creators and writers. I mean, they want to make money in Hollywood. If women aren't going to buy certain narratives, they're going to make narratives that women are going to buy. No, they've tried turning male franchises into female franchises, and they've fucking failed because women want to watch shows and stuff that they watch, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just men and women are wired differently. We have some common interests. We have a lot of common interests, but when I'll be honest, 90% of the time, when it comes to escapism and it comes to entertainment and what men and women are looking to get out of that, we are different. And when you're trying to turn male franchises into female franchises, I mean, you want crowd pleasers, right? You want movies that, and the reason that early Marvel worked was that men wanted to go see it because they wanted to see action heroes. They wanted to see male characters do action stuff. And the girlfriends or the wives went along because they wanted to see Hot Bucky. They wanted to see Hot Bucky's ass. Right. And then when we started nerfing the, Thor and Hulk and all these characters and even Spider-Man, right? We started nerfing these characters. The women even started checking out. They're like, well, they're not very attractive because they're basically women at this point. Right. Oh, God. Katz said a departure from the simplified idea of superhero movies about men conquering the enemy and defending the homeland and what he called, holy shit, what he called knuckle-dragging traditional ways. Instead, he described this as the era of the introspective superhero. Hollywood is still guessing how long it's going to last. Not very long. I don't think it's going to last very long. I don't think it has anything to do with Trump. I think Trump is a symptom. I don't think Trump is what is actually going on. I think you've bottled up masculinity for so long that it's going to come roaring back, and the money's going to come roaring back, and you're going to see movies that are just, straight up action movies or whatever, again, heteronormative relationships or whatever, and audiences are going to flock to them because they've been starved of them for so long. But this is a bunch of bullshit. This shows right up close, like how scared Hollywood is of men, of masculinity. And it's not just Hollywood, it's academia. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like, this has got to stop. It's unnatural. It is unnatural to tell men to stop being men. And we're dealing with the consequences of that. We have a serious leadership crisis in this country. Again, we have violence and mental illness in this country. And I think you can, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I think you can trace it back to the assault on manhood and masculinity that, again, you have half of the population being told that there's something wrong with them, that they need to not be men, that men are the problem, the patriarchy's the problem, that we're all problematic, and there's, and it messes with people. It really does. And I think we're seeing the result of that. So if masculinity, traditional masculinity, comes roaring back, again, it's not because of Trump. I think it's because just people are desperate for a return to something resembling normalcy or normality. And again, this is a biological thing, right? It's just like men and women are different. We are. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we are different, and trying to make us, one androgynous glob of NPCs is not working very well. It's not working very well. So Hollywood's going to get the memo, and they're going to go back, I think, to making more traditionally masculine movies because that's what the audience wants. But I can't believe that this is where we're at. This is where we're at. Our male superheroes, our male role models for kids, LeBron James and Mr. Beast and Ken from the fucking Barbie movie. That's how starved boys are for a role model. Unfucking believable. I'm gonna wrap it up. I've had it. I've had it. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.